Alright everyone, good evening everyone. I hope you all enjoy the day. And today I'm going to... No. Alright, good evening everyone. So, I hope you all enjoy the day. I hope you all have had a good day for today. So, the session for today, since we have come to the 13th week already, so according to the course syllabus that I have already given you from the beginning of the semester, so that next week and the week after this will be your individual and your group presentation. So this week I will call it a mock-up session for you. So since you have remembered that, okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look on the screen here, and I hope you all already have had the copy of the handout that I have already given you last week. So let's have a look on the screen that I'm going to share here. Let's have a look at the PowerPoint here, so that I will call it the Introduction to Linguistics. So I would have to tell you that the significance of the linguistics would for sure be important or significant to the teaching English for communication, especially in the 21st century. So today, this section, I will call it a mock-up section for you, so that any of you would have to apply and choose the selected topic to be your own presentation. So today, I'm going to spend about 20 to 30 minutes for the session, covering the 20 topics indeed, also with followed by the assignments, and also for the further readings, and also for the self-study for your own sessions. Let's have a look on the screen here. So I will have to start with the chapter review here. Since I have told you before this midterm class that this session is going to be talking about the overview of how linguists approach the study of language, describing language as one of the crucial and unique systems of the communication to human beings. And therefore, realizing that, keep in mind that teaching materials in the age of online teaching can be a vital component of teaching and should be selected appropriately in order to foster the learners' and student needs. And it can be also enhance their linguistics accuracy, in which gradually resulted in individuals' levels of English proficiency. Let's have a look on the next session. On the next topic, I'm going to talk about the important key terms. The terms listed here will be the terms that is going to be mentioned throughout the session. For example, the first one is the competence and performance, linguistic creativity, linguistic accuracy, learners and students' needs, English proficiency, and multidisciplinary and also modes of language. Let me talk about the significance of English for communication. As you have a look on the screen here, there will be, it seems to be a lot of lectures and paragraphs here. So let me talk about the only highlighted phrases that is important for you. The world has become a vast and interconnected network through technology and travel. With a widespread business and social networks, people from all language backgrounds need to find a mutual medium for communication. Let's have a look at this. I have highlighted and also underlined the terms medium for communication. Let's have a look at, you have to be able to link the significance of English for communication, that it can be called as the medium for communication. Another one, English has become a universal language. Let's have a look at this, a universal language. And this has been taught all over the world, and the increasing demand for English-speaking learners has made it an invaluable skill to master in order to have more career opportunities. I would say have more career opportunities. Not only be important to the business and social networks, but it's also be important to your career opportunity as well. Taking this reason into account, one would understand the importance of being able to listen to, read, write, and speak English, so that be able to master English language can have a big impact on your future. So that having a great command of the English language increases your academic options. Not only the option, not only be important to your business network and social network, but it's also important to your academic option as well. For example, such as entering the world's prestigious university in the future. To relate linguistics to the teaching English for communication, we would have to be able to know and understand that linguistics is multidisciplinary. Specialists in many disciplines bring their own expertise to the study of language. For example, the psychologists, how do they work? They are interested in studying language as a property of the human mind. They have contributed many insights into such topics as how people acquire language. Moreover, anthropologists, on the other hand, have been more interested in the relationship between language and culture. So you have noticed that early work by the anthropologists provide extremely valuable information about the structure of indigenous language of America. Let's move on to the next slide. I have briefly conceptualized that language can be accessed in three modes. The first one is speech, the second one is writing, and the third one is signs. Let's have a look at it. I have made a mark that although all languages, with the exception of sign language, you would have some question popped up in your mind that what is the sign language is. Exists in the spoken form, only some have written form. Signs are used in only the people who are deaf. Sign language. Alright, move on to the next slide, the modes of language. I would say signifiers are transmitted in human languages more strictly through primary modes, speech and writing. Our third mode, signing, is a system of communication used by individuals, underline this, who are deaf. Contrarily, sign language are not mere gesture equivalent to spoken languages. For example, American Sign Language, ASL, for instance, has its own grammar, and those who use it go through the same stage of language acquisition as speakers of oral language do. Well, I would say that it is not uncommon for children of deaf parents who are not deaf themselves to learn a sign language as the first language and a spoken language as a second language. Modes of language in linguistics. Keep in mind that it is commonly noted that speech is primary and writing is secondary. So the linguists take this position because our languages are spoken with the exception of deaf language such as Latin, which is now exists only in written form, and only a subset of these languages are written. Make a remark that, however, to become a literate, a child will need some kind of formal schooling in reading and writing. In many respects, the recalling speech primary and writing secondary, unfortunately implies that the writing has a second-class status when compared with speech. It is more accurate to view the two modes as having different but complementary roles. You may find out, you may have some questions in mind, why do I speak too fast for today? Because as the limitation of time for today, so I would have to make it faster than usual. We have come to the significant question is that, as we have talked earlier about the modes of language, what mode is highly interactive, is mostly interactive? Let's have a look at this. Well, writing may be preferred mode for a contract, underlying contract. In many other contexts, speech will be more appropriate, because the most common type of speech, face-to-face conversation, you may have heard about this before, is highly interactive. So which kind of mode of language is representative to face-to-face conversation? This mode is well suited to many contexts. Casual conversation over lunch, business transactions in grocery store, discussions between students and teachers in classrooms. And in this context, interactive dialogues have many advantages over reading. So you will say that which mode is more significant and interactive mode than the other modes. Move on to the remarks here. When speaking to one another, the conservants are face-to-face and can therefore see how individuals react to what is said. Writing creates distance between writer and readers, preventing the reader from getting any reaction from the reader. Speech is oral, thus making it possible to use intonation to emphasize words or phrases and express emotion. Writing has punctuation. In another form of language, in legal system, for instance, in most legal systems which can oral contract is legally binding, a written contract is preferred because writing, unlike speech, provide a permanent record of the contract. You may have some thoughts or idea about contributing your own presentation for next week. Let's have a look at this. For example, I gave you some example about legal system. The language is used, how it's used, and how it is interactive in the conversation and in the communication. I would say this. What are the challenges to effective teaching English? Not only the main tools of the trade, but as the visible heart of any English teaching program. Sheldon said this, it's been a long time ago, 1988, but this can be effective and significant. A simple statement said once by Sheldon. He was the one who strongly manifested explanation as opposed to the importance of the materials in English teaching. Let's move on to another slide. I'm going to talk about again the challenges to effective teaching English. On the other hand, in Thailand, underline this, selecting and developing teaching materials seems to be a real challenge for English teachers, especially those who are going to be new English teachers or instructors. Some of you may be facing this problem. There are many English instructors or English teachers therefore suffering. Look at this, suffering from the selection of whether newly produced or designed teaching materials offered for them to use in the classroom, especially in conducting online class. So not only they are not only suffering from the normal classroom, but they also suffering from a new normal classroom as well. And right here I'm talking about the online class. That's it. It is crucial to realize, you have to make sure that you realize about the materials that are vital component of teaching and should be selected properly in order to foster the learners and student needs. Remember that student needs and learners needs, it can be enhance their linguistic accuracy, in which gradually resulted in individual levels of English proficiency. Let me talk about the importance of why selecting and developing appropriate teaching materials is important. It determines what kind of language the learner will be exposed to as a consequence and the substance of what they will learn in terms of vocabulary, structures, and functions. It has some implications to the method and techniques by which the learners will learn. Last but not least, let's have a look at this. The subject or content of the material is an essential component of the package from the point of view of relevance and motivation. Here are some considerable importance relevance to the context of English language learning in Thailand. I have come up with these three considerable importance questions. The first one is, which learning approach of material development is more properly to teaching English online for the second language learners, individual work or group work? The second question is, can the contextual factors in aspect of learning English for communication be likely related to the means proficiency use of English? The third one is, how can and do the English teacher develop appropriate of learning material for online course that can match and respond to the needs of the learners? Okay, we have come to the very last slides of the section today. In summary, I will talk briefly about this. Other linguists take a more expansive view of language, believing that it's just available to study language in social context and to consider the structure of text as well as the structure of sentences occurring in text. The challenging points on teaching English, it is crucial to realize that you have to make sure that it is crucial to realize that materials are vital components of teaching and should be selected appropriately in order to foster the learner's needs, and also it can enhance their linguistic accuracy, in which gradually resulted in their levels of English proficiency. All right. Let me briefly talk about the assignment and the further reading for you. Because the linguists are engaged in the scientific study of language, I would like for you to learn about the terms bias. Linguists have their bias too. The next session, next week, I will talk briefly about how the bias in terms of ideological basis of language, the idea that all views of language are grounded in beliefs about how language should be valued. The final section will describe about two competing theories of language. So I would suggest you to have a further reading on Noam Chomsky's theories of generative grammar, and also with Michael Holliday's theories of functional grammar. And one of the important questions is how these theories have influenced the view of language. And also have a look at the handout in your hands that I would like for you to make some brush up, thinking about how would number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, actually 4. I'd like for you to match for the left-handed column into the area of linguistics you have studied into the right-hand column. All right, here And in this slide is the references for you to have a further reading for next week and for you to find your own selected topic for you to be presented in your individual and group presentation. If you have any question, please raise your hands, or if you have any question for this session today, I'd like for you to send me directly to my page, or you can also ask me after this. I'll give you for about 5 minutes after this to have a session of questions and answer. All right. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you all next week for the individual presentation. If you have any question, please feel free to ask the question during the week or while you're working on your own assignment. You can ask me at any time you would like to know. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next week.